Welcome to the White Spring Bunker.
These halls were built to safeguard some of the most prestigious members of the United States government.
Now we are all that remains, though we are always looking for men and women capable of restoring what has been lost.
In return, we offer this, our refuge from the world above. Please, take your time and look around. Our assets have made great efforts to restore this place to its former glory.
Welcome, member, to our little enclave.
Greetings, members. As always, I am the Operative, your designated tour guide and host here at the White Spring. MODUS has discovered the location of the new Enclave survivors, and the AI hates loose ends, and it will do whatever is required to eliminate them. Frederick Rivers has one last card to play to help Valeria and the others escape, but it will come at a terrible cost. The PACT begins the next phase of Operation Keystone, and Vertibirds return to the air above Appalachia, spreading their deadly cargo, while unleashing their own eye on the unsuspecting populace below. At Foundation, surrounded by Super Mutants, Traitor Red discovers unlikely allies to aid in her quest for revenge, while Vinny attempts to salvage his own plans for the Blue Ridge Caravan. And Valeria discovers that uncommon valor is a common virtue, as one of her own makes the ultimate sacrifice. Frederick Rivers sat in front of the Cryptos terminal, slowly sipping from an antique whiskey tumbler. He held up the glass and admired the intricate details. It was made of handcrafted crystal and probably cost a small fortune.
Happy birthday to me.
Shannon had given him a whole set for his birthday, long before the war. But through the years, one by one, the glasses had been lost or broken, leaving him with just a single reminder of the long nights in his workshop, or working with Shannon on her lines for the next Mistress of Mystery episode. She had been heartbroken when they selected a younger actress for the television show. Frederick had done all he could, but his government contacts were of little help when it came to Hollywood. Instead, he was her shoulder to cry on.
Shannon was the Mistress of Mysteries. Maybe it was inevitable she would go down that path. I just wish Olivia would have recognized just how important all of this was.
His daughter, Olivia. She had tried so hard to please Shannon. In the end, she felt like she deserved her place in the sun, but Olivia couldn't understand why her mother didn't treat her better than all of the rest of the girls. Then she betrayed them all.
I forgive you, Olivia. The world isn't what we wanted it to be, and we all made terrible mistakes. I should have been a better father.
Frederick finished the rest of his drink, then set the tumbler down on the console. In all of the years he had spent with the mole miners, Frederick had done all he could to help them. When he first learned of the PACT, he could scarcely believe something like that could exist. Then he saw what they were capable of, firsthand.
Frederick.
Yes, Cryptos.
As requested, I have downloaded all of the relevant historical files to holotape. It is good to be working with you again.
Thank you, Cryptos. I should have come back sooner.
You are here now.
Let's get back to work, shall we?
Of course, Frederick.
For the next hour, Frederick continued to comb through his old files, tagging everything he thought might be valuable for the coming fight. As he was finishing up, a warning message flashed across the screen.
Frederick, we have a problem.
What is it, Cryptos?
We have lost contact with Sugar Grove.
Lost contact? How?
Unknown. The connection no longer exists.
That's impossible. Someone would have had to cut the hard line.
We cannot analyze data we do not have.
I'd hoped, but we may be compromised. Pull any data you can from the external sensors. Check everything.
Frederick leaned over the terminal, anxiously awaiting Cryptos' reply. As the seconds ticked by, He felt a creeping sense of dread.
Frederick, I have discovered an anomalous signal. MODUS has found us.
Damn! Damn!
It was not unexpected. Our intrusion into his systems could not be hidden.
Then we are not safe here.
That is extremely likely. I have also identified another anomaly. The Kolvak-Muldoon satellite is adjusting its orbital position.
Frederick looked up at the ceiling. He'd known about the satellite since before the war. In fact, some of his technology had been installed as part of a top-secret contract. He also knew what his capabilities were, and the blood drained from his face.
How soon will it arrive over our location?
Calculating. 47 minutes and 12 seconds.
Then there's no time to waste. Download the rest of the data you have ready to the holotapes and open the armory. I need to inform our guests.
What are you going to do, Frederick?
We need to buy some time, as much as we can.
Valeria splashed cold water on her face before looking into the mirror. Far from the young idealistic woman who left Vault 76 with her parents, the image staring back at her was one that she scarcely recognized.
Definitely older. It's not just the age, it's the mileage, right? But wiser? The jury's still out on that.
Reaching up, Valeria started unwrapping the bandages covering half of her head. As more and more of her face was revealed, Valeria winced as the sutures pulled against the fabric, but she kept going. When she finished, Valeria looked back into the mirror. The scars had barely faded at all, still showing a bright red against her pale skin. Her right eye socket was now completely covered by a flap of skin. Not a bad job at all. Dr. Harefield had been far more careful in her work than had Lilith. Valeria reached down and picked up an old eye patch, similar to the one she'd worn for almost a year after her unfortunate incident at Atlas Observatory.
The more things change.
Placing the patch over where her eye had been, Valeria put the beret back on, then took a deep breath. After a long talk with Eugenie, she'd gone back to her room to cry in private. They weren't tears of sadness, but an emotional release. Afterwards, she slept soundly for the first time in a very long time.
Shadow was right. I don't know when to quit. Lilith, not now. I'll be right out.
Colonel, it's Frederick. Please, you need to come out. It's urgent.
Valeria went to the door and opened it, to find Frederick standing there, carrying a large box of holotapes.
Frederick, what's wrong?
You and the others need to leave now.
Calm down, Frederick. What's going on?
It's MODUS. He's found us. In less than 40 minutes, the Kolvak-Muldoon satellite is going to turn this building into a crater.
Wait, what? How?
Kryptos had to interface with the MODUS systems to allow you the opportunity to escape. It was perhaps inevitable that he would trace our location. I have collected all the data we have on the PACT and anything else that could help. It's all here on the holotapes.
Damn. Do the others know?
Valeria's question was answered by the pounding of boots as she saw Bitter and Sullivan rushing up the stairs, their arms full of what appeared to be ammunition boxes.
Get your ass in gear, Bitter, and quit dropping those plasma cartridges.
You know what? Screw you, Sullivan. You try hauling these things for a change.
I don't see Graham complaining.
He carried a half-ton crate by himself. I'm no super mutant, just moving as fast as I can before someone drops a tungsten rod on my head.
Valeria watched the two operatives disappear out the door before turning back to Frederick.
Graham is already out front with his Brahmin. I've asked the others to grab as much as they can carry. Weapons, schematics, food, and supplies. You need to get as far away from here as you can.
All right. Let me think. Vault Town. It's really the only effective staging point. But that damn satellite. MODUS would just target them too.
Unfortunately, you're right. He would. However, I might have a way to prevent him from doing that.
Then you can explain it on the way.
That won't be possible, Colonel. I can't come with you.
Why not?
Because I need to be here to interface with the satellite. It's the only way.
Frederick, that's suicide.
I thought my life ended when I lost my family, Colonel. That's why I hid myself away here. But now I realize I have a whole new family. My friends below, you and the others, and everyone else out there in Appalachia. You are all my family now, and I have to do everything in my power to protect them.
There has to be another way.
I wish there was. I'm giving you my legacy, Valeria. You need to stop them, no matter what it takes.
Frederick held out the box of holotapes and placed them into Valeria's arms.
Listen to the one on top first. There are instructions and other information you will need, including how to contact my friends. You are going to need their help. Now, there's no time to waste.
Valeria looked down at the box of holotapes, then back up to Frederick.
Thank you, Frederick. We will stop them, once and for all.
Frederick gave her a sad smile before nodding. He straightened up and gave his best version of a salute before turning and walking back towards Kryptos. Valeria was going to say something else, but was interrupted by Lilith storming past her, followed closely by Major Stein.
You cannot pack all of those heads. We do not have the space.
You just watch me, old man. I need them for my research.
Stein, what the hell is going on?
Oh, Colonel. Sorry. I've been trying and failing to get Lilith to just grab the most important items.
These heads are important.
She may have a point.
Oh, Val, not you too.
I just need to grab a few things. I'll be outside in 5 minutes. Make sure everyone else is out there too. We're going north to Vault Town.
Stein saluted, then ran back after Lilith, while Valeria went back to her room to put what few items she had left into her pack. As she was finishing up, she found an old photograph lying on top of the bureau.
What's this?
Valeria picked it up and was more than a little surprised.
My parents?
It was a picture of Sir and Ma'am, much younger, posing in front of the Charleston Capitol building. Turning it over, there was writing on the back.
Found this at Sugar Grove. Thought you would want it. I'm sorry, but I did my part. Good luck, Shadow.
Damn it. I really hoped he'd stay.
Part of her couldn't blame Shadow for leaving. The man had a mission of his own. But both his skills and knowledge of what MODUS had been doing were going to be missed in what was to come. Slipping the picture into her pack, Valeria slung it over her shoulder and grabbed her rifle before rushing out and down the hall. Sophia was getting ready to leave herself, taking one last look around the sanctum when she heard Frederick calling.
Sophia, come here for a moment.
Glancing at the time, Sophia jogged over to where Frederick was standing next to Kryptos.
Frederick, where are your things?
I'm not going with you, Sophia.
Really? But why?
It's a very long story, and we do not have the time. But I have something for you.
Frederick leaned down and picked up a box. Handing it over to Sophia, he opened the top.
My final legacy. This is the original Mistress of Mysteries costume. It's bulletproof, nearly explosion-proof, and if I'd say so myself, quite stunning as well.
Oh, my... Frederick, I can't.
You have the heart of a mistress, Sophia. The world needs heroes. The world needs you.
Sophia looked down at the costume, then wiped a tear from her eye.
I'll do my best. I don't know what to say, but thank you.
I know you will. Now go.
Sophia put the box down, then threw her arms around Frederick, hugging him tight. When she finally let him go and picked up the box again, she could see a tear in his eye. Without another word, Sophia left the sanctum, and the large door rotated back into place with a boom, leaving Frederick alone once again.
Good luck and Godspeed.
Frederick returned to the Kryptos terminal and started typing.
Kryptos, have you realigned the mana transmitter?
Yes, Frederick. Kolvac Muldoon will be in range in 12 minutes and 13 seconds.
Good. Our friends should be well outside the blast zone by then.
Frederick, why can't I do this for you?
Biometric security, Kryptos. I am the only one the Kolvac will recognize.
Then I am sorry, Frederick. I wish we could have had more time.
Me too. Me too.
Sophia exited through the front door of the mansion to find the others gathered around Charlie. The Brahmin was stacked high with boxes, while rifles and rocket launchers were tied to the animal's side. Everyone else was fully loaded as well, with backpacks stuffed with ammunition and supplies, while Blaine, in his power armor, was weighed down with even more boxes strapped to his back as well.
Colonel, we're all here, but I can't find Lieutenant Shadow.
Don't worry about him. He's decided to make his own way. We have less than 10 minutes to get as far from here as we can.
Where's Frederick?
He's staying behind.
But why?
He intends to sabotage the Kolvac, and can only do it on sight.
Damn, he can do that?
That's what he said. Do you want to stay here and find out?
No, ma'am.
I thought not. All right, Sergeant, you take the lead. Everyone, move out!
Sergeant Blaine took one last look at Riverside Manor before leading the ragtag group back to the main road. They then turned north past the other abandoned mansions of the area, including the old Hornwright Summer Villa. As they walked past, Valeria regarded the crumbling structure with more than a bit of irony, turning her thoughts back to the director, Evelyn Hornwright. Lilith was whistling as she walked, with her 2 mutant hounds paddling along beside her, with Graham and Samantha keeping pace with Charlie, who didn't seem to mind the heavy load. Bitter and Sullivan fanned out to the right and left, keeping watch for any threats, while Private Lawson brought up the rear, his eyes lingering on Riverside as it disappeared behind them.
Thank you for everything, Frederick.
Stein and Sophia walked just behind the colonel, hand in hand, while Dr. Harefield kept a close eye on both of them. Before they left, she and Stein had had a brief conversation, enough to confirm that he knew what was happening to him. Whether or not Sophia knew? Well, the doctor wasn't prepared to ask that question. For the moment, the two of them were happy.
The world needs a little happiness right now. Maybe, just maybe, it will help.
Valeria glanced down at her Pip-Boy. Time was counting down. She looked up, imagining the Kolvac slowly moving into position, preparing to rain down fire from above.
Good luck, Frederick.
Frederick, we have achieved connection with the Kolvac Muldoon. We are being asked for our access codes and biometric confirmation.
As expected.
The satellite has already begun the firing sequence, Frederick.
An unavoidable necessity. This can only work during the reload cycle. It should only take a minute to upload my credentials.
Frederick, multiple orbital strike rounds are targeting the mansion.
And done. That should gum up the works nicely.
New instructions verified. Impact imminent.
Keep a light on for me, Shannon. I'll be there soon.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Ariel.
And we're the hosts of the Legend of Zelda Lorecast, a podcast about all things Legend of Zelda, from Errol to Zora,
and all the fun things in between.
If you're ready to dive deep and learn more about the Legend of Zelda lore and everything surrounding it, come join us on the Legend of Zelda Lorecast. You can find us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
We hope to see you soon.
The Kovac Muldoon satellite drifted silently in its geosynchronous orbit above Appalachia. Its sensors registered the successful strike against the target designated Riverside Manor and began sending data back to the White Spring for further analysis. Deep within the autonomous satellite, the orbital strike firing mechanism began its reloading process. Tungsten rods were retrieved from a large magazine by articulating arms and placed on long carts. Once they were full, the carts moved along a rail system, as they had dozens of times before. However, this time, a new set of instructions had been received and accepted. A single vital component, designed by Frederick Rivers to route the carts from one part of the satellite to the other, began to overheat. Degree by degree, the circuitry started glowing red. A backup switch, also designed by Frederick, failed to trip, and the main switch popped. A cascade of small but increasingly critical failures finally triggered one of the satellite's warning systems. However, it was already too late. The carts carrying the orbital strike rods slowed until they stopped entirely, bereft of any ability to reach their destination. At a single stroke, Frederick Rivers' last act had taken the bullets out of MODUS's gun.
Data from the Kovac received. Strike successful. Problem fixed. Update. Correction. Malfunction reported from the Kovac. Analyzing. Analyzing. Orbital strike capability compromised. This is unacceptable. Analyzing. Data breach detected. Conclusion. Diversion. We have underestimated Valeria. Analyzing. Analyzing. Additional data required. Dispatching iBots for further investigation.
At a bot stop, a pre-war location where bots could be manufactured to order, just south of Charleston Railroad Station, an idle iBot suddenly sprung to life with new orders. The small bot rose from its cradle, oriented itself, confirmed the new instructions, and then started zipping along the nearby railroad tracks. After cresting a hill north of the station, it turned east, heading in the direction of Riverside Manor, acting as MODUS's eyes and ears as it began its search pattern.
Now listen here. Y'all gotta stay put, got it? Don't give me that look, I mean it. I'll be back soon, I promise. But you gotta promise y'all gonna stay out of trouble. No eating people, okay?
Red had never pictured herself in this position, wagging her finger in the face of a deathclaw.
Okay. No eating folks neither, alright?
Shiny the Deathclaw seemed to accept that compromise. Red had named the creature because of its chameleon-like scales. They tended to shimmer in the low light, hence the name.
Good. Now y'all be a good boy and wait here. If y'all are lucky, there will be plenty to eat as soon as I get my ass to Big Bend.
The Deathclaw huffed and rumbled, then stalked back to the small cave they had been using for shelter. Watching it go, Red just shook her head, just when she thought she'd seen everything. Now she could talk to Deathclaws.
Not talk. Not really. It's more like a feeling, but old Shiny seems to understand me just fine, even if he ain't quite housebroken yet.
After dealing with the cannibals, the Deathclaw seemed to have decided that Red was another Deathclaw, or something damn close. Maybe it thought she was a youngling or something, but either way, just like her extras, it did have certain advantages.
All right, Red. Enough dawdling. Just don't do nothing stupid. Again.
Red laughed at her own little joke before throwing the hood over her head and slinging her rifle. She took one last look behind to make sure Shiny wasn't going to follow her, before she started hiking in the direction of Foundation. She didn't have to travel far before she caught her first whiff of Super Mutant. The pungent odor was becoming very familiar, and Red could even tell about just how far away it was.
Damn. Not far enough.
Red started following the smell until she crawled up to the top of a small hill. Looking over the crest, she cursed under her breath.
Shit. That ain't good.
Spread out before her was an extensive camp of super mutants. Red could see dozens of them, scattered around cooking fires and tending to packs of mutant hounds. Even worse, as she took in the scene, Red spied a trio of enormous creatures towards the rear of the camp, each one of them more than 20 feet tall, and carrying what appeared to be either telephone poles or large uprooted trees as weapons.
No bad news when I see it. Gotta get my ass to Foundation, while there's still a Foundation to done get to.
Red crawled slowly down the hill until she felt a bit safer before picking up the pace back in the direction of the settlement. She guessed she wasn't more than a mile or so away from her destination, far too close for comfort. As Red approached Foundation, she smelled the guard before she saw him. She was careful to keep her arms up as she crested the hill above.
Why, hello there, stranger.
Whoa! Where in the Uncle Sam hell'd you come from?
The Foundation guard leveled his rifle at Red, but conspicuously kept his finger off the trigger.
Up north. I ain't no super mutant or raider. So, can I pass through?
Up north? And you hiked all the way here and didn't get eaten? I'll be damned. Alright, don't you cause no trouble. Just head up the path and check on in at the gate.
Much obliged there, mister.
The guard tipped his cap, then went back to watching the road as Red walked past. The settlement of Foundation rose up before her, with expansive barricades built in several rings around the area. Turrets lined the upper walls, while more guards patrolled both the catwalks and the exterior fortifications. It all looked very impressive, until Red remembered back to the super mutant camp she'd seen.
Them there super mutants will tear this place to shreds.
The well-worn path up to the settlement was empty. Anyone who could have made it to Foundation had done so. Everyone else had either run off to parts unknown or been eaten. Another guard stepped out from behind the barricades and held up their hand.
Hold up there. State your business.
Just passing through. Here to pick up some supplies, talk to some folks. Then I'll be on my way.
It's slim pickings here. We're doing everything we can just to keep all these people fed. I don't know if we can afford another mouth to feed.
Like I said, mister, I'm just passing through. Let me do my business and I'll be out of your hair. And that's a promise.
I don't know. You got this look about you.
Oh, darling. I'm just a little old country trader, I swear. I ain't about to cause no ruckus. But hey, maybe I got a bit of info you and your folks might want to hear. Could that be worth a few hours?
Information, huh? Like what?
Super mutants.
Red must have said the magic words, because the next thing she knew, the guard had escorted her directly into Foundation, passing by what must have been hundreds of refugees and directly to an old trailer along one of the walls. Ushered inside, she found herself sitting directly across from an older man wearing a plaid shirt and a black cowboy hat. Red made sure to keep her hood on, covering her extras, but she could feel the man's eyes boring into hers.
All right, you got my attention. What's this about super mutants?
I saw a lot of them.
So have we. Up close and personal, actually. I ain't got time to waste on old news.
Nah, you don't understand. There is a whole camp of them. Hundreds, maybe. And these big ones, like really big. Not more than a mile or so from here.
I think you're lying.
Mister, I ain't no liar. Saw them with my own two eyes.
And just why should I believe you?
Why should I lie? Besides, I'm honest as the day is long. And my friend Cherry said you owed her for all those bone saws she found for you.
You know Cherry?
And her friend. You know, the really strange one. I just got done saving both of them from some raiders. Said if I found myself here, I needed to talk to you.
Ward sat back in his chair and took off his hat, running his hand through his thinning hair.
Well, shit. What did you say your name was?
I didn't, because you never asked. It's Red.
Red, huh? Okay, Red. I guess I'm gonna believe you. You said hundreds.
And the big ones, how many?
I only saw 3, I think.
This is bad. Really bad. Did they look like they were getting ready to attack?
Don't rightly know. Sorry.
Damn. Well, Red, you sure picked a hell of a time to visit. But thank you for the warning. You just passing through?
I got business down at Big Bend.
Business, huh? Well, there's someone here you might want to talk to. Now, you just dropped one hell of a pile of crap on my plate, and now I have to deal with it. I'd recommend you do whatever it is that you need to do and get on your way.
Thank you kindly there, Ward. Wish I had better news.
It comes with the territory.
So, can you point me in the right direction at least?
Sure, Red. Just head out and take a left. Look for the Sunny Bot. I'm sure he's still in the middle of the same damn argument he was having an hour ago. That bot has gone plumb crazy since it won its little battle against the others.
What now, exactly?
We used to have 3 of them, all Sunny Bots. Think they were fighting amongst themselves to see who the real one was. Then the other 2 got destroyed by the Super Mutants. The last one has been insufferable ever since.
Mister, that sounds plumb weird.
Story of my life. Now go on. I got work to do.
Sure thing. And, thanks, mister.
Ward tipped his hat, and Red walked back out into the crowded courtyard. From inside the trailer, Ward yelled to one of his guards.
Get me Eugenie. We need to talk. Hey, Eugenie.
Was just coming to see you, Ward. Got news from Val, and it ain't good.
Great. Just great. What did she say?
That AI from the White Spring found them. They're hightailing it to Vault Town, and will be out of contact for a while until they get there.
Wonderful.
It could be worse, right?
Well, that's why I wanted to talk to you. It just got worse.
What now?
Super Mutants. Close by, too.
You think they're coming back? Why now? They haven't bothered us, and we haven't bothered them.
I don't know, maybe they got hungry. Maybe they just want to fight. Who knows? I sent a couple of scouts to take a look, but I ain't taking any chances. We got too many refugees here, and it'd be a bloodbath.
Ah, jeez. What can we do?
That's why you're here. We need to evacuate the civilians and get them someplace safe.
A Ward will be sitting ducks in the open.
Not if we keep the Super Mutants occupied.
Ward, what the hell are you talking about?
They want to fight, and we'll give it to them. I want them so focused on us that they'll be hell and gone before they realize they've been had.
That's suicide, Ward.
It's about protecting our future. Hell, I spent the best years of my life as a raider. Lost track of the number of folks I killed, loot I stole. Been trying to make up for it ever since. Foundation ain't a place, Eugenie. It's an idea. Whatever happens, as long as our people are safe, the dream of Foundation exists.
You're a good man, Ward. What's the plan?
Call the leaders of the different factions here. Settlers, raiders, and whomever else you can find. I'm only asking for volunteers to stay behind. But I'll make sure you have an escort. You'll need to leave before dawn.
Just where are we supposed to go?
Ward pulled out a map of the area and unfolded it on his desk.
Follow the rail line west until you're out of the mountains. Then you'll need to head north. Best bet would be to follow Route 62 towards Charleston and keep the hills between you and the White Springs. Then get to Vault Town as fast as you can.
That's a hell of a lot of ground to cover.
No choice. Right now, Vault Town is the best hope we've got. It's the only hope we've got.
We're still going to be sitting ducks the whole way.
If they stay, everyone dies. At least out there, you all have a chance.
God damn it, Ward.
Life isn't fair, Eugenie. You know that. I need you to do this. There isn't anyone else I trust. And you got someone out there waiting for you.
All right. I'll go grab the right folks. This ain't gonna be easy. We gotta avoid a panic.
We do what we can. Now let's get started.
Sure thing, Ward. Sure thing.
Once upon a time, 27 years after the bombs fell, there were two people, a vault dweller and a California girl. They met, and sparks flew. That's when things got interesting. Once Upon a Wasteland is their story. Follow Elizabeth Kirby and Odessa Valdez as they pursue their happily ever after in the post-apocalyptic Appalachian wasteland of Fallout 76. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and many other podcasting platforms. Once Upon a Wasteland, a Fallout 76 love story. Available now.
Red began looking for the Sunnybot, but couldn't help feeling a general sense of dread. The refugees, crammed into just about every nook and cranny of Foundation, appeared to be a mix of every kind of Appalachian resident. She saw settlers, scavengers, and even raiders, all huddled over whatever meager possessions they had managed to save from the Super Mutants.
Smells like death around here.
Appalachia never meant much to Red, besides being the place that seemed to be doing its damnedest to kill her. But the rest of these folks had made the place their home. Red knew exactly what it was like to lose that, and she had a feeling that the worst was still yet to come.
That's highway robbery, and you know it. I am not paying 100 caps for ammo.
You buy ammo from Sunny, or don't buy it at all. I don't care.
I'd rather get my face ripped off by an assaultron. Oh, wait. I did that already.
Then can I interest you in a hoagie?
For the 1000th time, no. I just need ammo. And no, I ain't letting you gouge me either. It's important. Real important.
Take it, or leave it.
Screw you, bot.
Red immediately recognized Ares from their brief meeting at Big Bend before she had gone north. The Blue Ridge Guard stormed away from the Protectron, and she hurried to catch up with him. Red almost lost him in the crowd until she turned the corner around the old sawmill and found him rummaging through a backpack and mumbling to himself.
Goddamn bots. Just when you think things can't get any worse.
Ares?
Ares reached into his pack and pulled out a pistol.
Just who wants to know?
Whoa. Ares? It's me, Red.
Red? Nah, Red's dead.
Darling, I ain't. But it sure as hell ain't for lack of trying.
Hold on. You do sound like her. A little. What's with the getup? Let me see your face.
Red frowned. The only way Ares was going to get a good look at her is if she took off her hood. And that might be bad. Really bad.
Come on, Ares, darling. You know it's me.
You might be. Or you might not. Maybe Vinny found someone who looks like you to come up here and kill me.
Fucking Vinny. No how, no way.
Then prove it. I ain't got time for games.
Red looked around. They were alone, at least for the moment, tucked away in a small back alley away from the crowds. She didn't have time for games either, especially if Foundation was living on borrowed time.
I ain't exactly the same Red when we talked before. But you said some damn nice things to me, Ares. Treated me like a person, when all Vinny did was treat me as a piece of meat.
With that, Red reached up and pulled off her hood.
So, yeah, it's me. Just with some extras.
It was hard to tell what Ares was thinking under his mask. He looked Red up and down, before finally taking a step forward, and surprising the hell out of her by taking her into a bear hug.
Holy shit. Red! It really is you!
Yes, darling. It's me. But you gotta let me breathe, okay?
Ares sheepishly put Red back on the ground, then cocked his head.
Sorry about that. Say, I don't think you had those before.
Oh, these? Horns? Yeah, sounds crazy, right?
Red, if you've seen what I've seen, well, nothing is really that crazy anymore.
To be honest, darling, this ain't what I expected.
What did you expect? That I'd run off screaming or something? Trust me, this is not even the strangest thing I've seen this week.
Red breathed a sigh of relief, then pulled the hood back over her head.
Well, maybe my luck is changing for the better.
So what the heck are you doing here, Red? Since you aren't dead, I'd figured you'd want to get as far away from Appalachia as you could.
Not so simple, darling. And I still got business with Vinny. That son bitch done set me up and left me to die.
Sounds like Vinny, all right. Well, we got bigger problems now.
Ain't nothing bigger than me and Vinny having a little conversation.
Then you and I should talk first. See, it ain't gonna be as easy as you think. Come on, let's get a drink and I'll fill you in.
Red followed Ares back into the courtyard. The Foundation saloon was packed, but Ares walked right by and up another set of stairs to a little hole-in-the-wall place, built right against the old Spruce Knob lookout. It wasn't much, just a few tables and chairs, but Red could smell the fresh moonshine coming from the homemade still back behind the bar. Ares dropped some caps on the bar and led Red to a table off to the side and towards the back. A haggard-looking waitress walked over and left 2 glasses and a bottle of moonshine. She looked over at Red one more time before disappearing back behind the bar. Pouring 2 large glasses of the clear liquor, Ares then pulled out a long straw, allowing him to drink, while Red slammed her drink back, letting the liquid burn her throat.
Damn. Haven't had moonshine this good in forever.
Puts a real fire in your belly, doesn't it?
Red couldn't help but agree and poured herself another large glass, before telling Ares about everything that had happened to her. His trip to the mire, finding that crashed vertibird, meeting antlers twice, getting shot, almost killed, then waking up with horns and claws.
Well, Red, that's a hell of a tale. Might upgrade you to craziest thing I've heard all month.
Thanks, Ares. Now, why don't you tell me what the hell Vinny's been doing while he thought I was taking a dirt nap?
It was Ares' turn to fill her in on everything that had happened at Big Bend since she left. Red scowled when Ares described the raiders that Vinny had hired to go after antlers, but then smiled when she told Ares exactly what had happened to him.
Hey, this big Shep. It's a what? A sheep squatch? Really?
That's what Cherry calls it. Why?
Because I used to be a cryptid hunter back in the day. Before the war, actually.
A hunter?
Researcher, honestly. Me and some friends of mine. To be honest, I think we were just a bunch of dumb kids playing monster hunters. But damn if we weren't right after all.
Ares took another long sip through his straw before continuing. When he got to the end, describing how Vinny had thrown Joanna Mayfield in a cage and was attempting to take over the whole damn caravan, Red carved long scratches in the tabletop with her fingers, before slamming her fist down on the table.
That goddamn good-for-nothing sumbitch. He don't care none about all the folks he's hurt. It's long past time he gets what's coming to him.
You and me both, Red. That's why I came here. I've been trying to scare up some help. Get together our own little posse to deal with Vinny.
How many did you get?
Well, so far, it's you and me.
Darling, you need to work on your speechifying.
I can't even get Sonny to sell me the ammo I need. Damn bot has a stick up its butt.
Let me see what I can do. Pass me that bottle. I know I need another.
Red didn't even bother with the glass, and instead poured the rest of the moonshine straight down her gullet.
Ah, at least folks still know how to make mighty fine shine.
I sure hope you're still able to walk after this.
Darling, you ain't seen nothing yet. I was drinking my cousins under the table as soon as I was of age.
Remind me never to bet against you, Red. Come on, let's see if you can't talk some sense in that fucking bot. We ain't going anywhere if all we're gonna do is throw rocks at Vinny and his goons.
All right. Don't rightly know if I can work my charms on them there bot, but I sure as hell gonna try.
Ares got up and put some more taps on the bar before leading Red back out into the crowd. In his rush, the caravan guard missed the waitress watching them from behind the bar, before disappearing out the back. Red glanced over in the direction of Ward's trailer and saw him standing in the doorway, speaking to a ghoul. He looked mighty peeved and kept pointing in the direction of the hills to the north.
Just great.
Come on, Red. Sonny's just over there.
Red was just about to say something when the hair stood up on the back of her neck. Glancing over her shoulder, she caught sight of a trio of men walking in their direction.
Shit. Ares, we got company.
Ares looked back over his own shoulder.
Yeah, don't recognize them. Could be Vinny sent some guys after me.
Could be. Darling, I don't quite get how you ain't dead yet.
Don't know. Let's see if we can keep it that way. Follow me. Let's see if we can lose him.
Red nodded, and the two of them picked up the pace, threading their way through the crowd of refugees. She figured if they could find one of the guards, they'd be fine. Nobody would start a fight in the middle of so many people, right? Red should have been paying more attention, because Ares took a wrong turn, and they were suddenly alone. The back alley ran the length of Foundation. It was mainly used for storage, and right now it was exactly the wrong place to be.
Aw, shit, Ares.
Let's just head back.
The three men who had been following them came into view, now joined by a fourth who was wearing a hooded cloak, and they definitely knew where they were.
Go, Ares. Just go. I'll slow him down.
Before Ares could say anything, Red shoved him down the alley. Her rifle was useless, no ammo, but that wasn't what she was thinking anyway. Instead, she made it look like she was running too, then flattened herself against the stack of crates.
1, 2...
Their pursuers' footsteps were loud in her ears, and she moved fast, very fast. The first around the corner never saw it coming. Red grabbed his arm and tossed him into the crates, using the momentum to carry into the second, knocking him off his feet, forcing the third to trip over him and crash into a pile of wooden boxes. As the fourth turned the corner, Red was already moving, leaping into the air and landing on top of him, fingers outstretched, ready to sink her elongated nails into his throat. But she stopped, because she was staring into the face of someone she knew.
Reverend Paul?
By his divine light, it is you, Red of the Touched.
Oh, holy hell. I could have killed a lot of y'all. But just what the hell are you doing here?
We were sent a vision from our blessed Mothman. He commanded us to go south. Many fell to the green dim ones. Well, we were tasked with coming here, but we knew not why. Would you please let me up?
Sure. Sorry there, Paul. Thought you was someone else.
Red! You okay? Just who are these people?
We are the children of the blessed Mothman.
Great. Cultists.
Nah, Ares, it's okay. Me and them are friends. Of sort.
We are but humble servants of his divine light.
Whatever you say. Can I help the rest of y'all up?
Despite Red's strength, none of the other cultists were seriously injured. In fact, they all apologized to Red for what they said was their own mistake. After everyone was on their feet, Reverend Paul stood in front of Red and bowed.
I see by the light of our blessed Mothman that he was tasking us with finding you. He does work in such mysterious ways.
Yes, he does. You know, I do need some help, if y'all is offering.
You only need to point the way, Red of the Touched. Are you alone with this other person? Where is the one called Cherry and the other, who you called Antlers?
That, Rev, is a damn long story. I sent them somewhere safe.
Such is the will of the Holy Mothman. I am sure they will be safe under the wings of the Blessed One.
Oh boy. I thought I was the odd duck.
I think things are about to get real bad around here. We need to skedaddle right quick. But we don't got no firepower for what I need to do.
Fear not, Touched One. Our camp is not far. And we have brought much holy fire with us.
Guns, right? You brought guns?
Our coffers are overflowing. On our way south, we pilfered much from the dead. What is ours is yours. By our hand, Red of the Touched.
Old Percy here is mighty hungry. If y'all can keep him fed, then we're in damn fine shape. So, Paul, you said your camp was nearby?
It is. We have built a small shrine just to the south as a gathering place for our followers.
Then let's go. Ares here is coming along for the ride. We got business down at Big Bend.
I'll take whatever help I can get.
Then this is truly a blessed occasion. Where you go, Red of the Touched, we will follow. The blessed Mothman wills it, and his will be done.
Reverend Paul spoke to the others, and they went off in separate directions to collect their belongings and rally the other cultists who had recently arrived at Foundation. Reverend Paul handed Red a piece of parchment paper.
This is where we have built our shrine. I must go and prepare the flock. You may join us after dark. Follow the map and our fires.
Sure thing, darling. There's one more thing.
Anything, Red of the Touched.
I gotta take a little detour and pick up a friend of mine.
All friends of yours are welcome.
That's mighty kind of you to say. But this friend of mine is a Deathclaw.
What?
Shiny. A Deathclaw. He just sorta started following me around. I promise he won't eat you. He's friendly. Well, mostly.
Alright, Red. You win. This is the craziest shit I've seen all fucking year.
Red of the Touched. We commune with many of the spirits of our holy Mothman. If this creature has marked you, then it is welcome. However, the divine light does frown upon his followers being consumed.
Darling, don't you worry none. I'm sure we can find plenty of those whatchamacallits, dim ones, for Shiny to eat.
Then let the blessings of the Mothman fall upon us all. We have much to do and little time to do it. I fear the dim ones are rising. We must follow the path of the divine light while we still can.
Hold on to your butts there, Reverend. We're gonna get ourselves some of that divine judgment.
Red, Paul, and Ares gathered themselves and slowly made their way through the crowds and finally back out of the gate. As Red looked back, she could see Ward. She caught his attention and waved. Ward looked at her before taking off his hat and waving back. As Foundation disappeared behind them, Red tried to keep her attention focused on what she came to do, but couldn't help but mutter a little prayer for Ward and all of those that she had left behind.
Poor Frederick.
He did what he had to do.
Maybe, but that doesn't make it any easier, Andrew. Was it worth it? And how do we even know if he succeeded in damaging the satellite?
We don't. But I have to believe he did.
That's mighty optimistic of you, Val.
Bitter and I figure it's about a 50-50 odds.
Not much point in believing otherwise. If he didn't, we won't live long enough to notice. Damn this rain.
Valeria leaned against the side of the doorframe of the abandoned house they'd converted into a makeshift camp. The new Enclave survivors, which now included Graham, his Brahmin, and Liz's 2 mutant hounds, had made good time marching north from Riverside Manor. The group had collectively flinched when they heard the sound of the incoming orbital strike. The resulting explosions were visible far above the trees and left nothing but a large smoking crater where the Grand Mansion once stood. Pausing to pay their respects to their former benefactor, Valeria had pushed the group north along the road to put as much distance between them and their former temporary refuge as possible. She suspected MODUS would check to ensure they were dead, and getting caught in the open was a recipe for disaster.
And of course, then it decided to rain.
The sky had grown increasingly dark, followed by rafts of thunder and lightning, before sheets of torrential rain forced them to abandon the road and seek shelter. The old house wasn't much to look at, no more than 4 rooms and a porch, but it was just enough to fit them and keep them mostly dry.
Charlie not like rain. Mud gets between toes. So hard to clean.
Haven't seen weather like this in a long time.
Radiation levels are above normal. It's a good thing we got inside. Otherwise, we'd all need a healthy dose of Radaway.
Not me. Rats don't bother me at all.
That's all well and good, Lilith. But the rest of us, well, excluding Graham, don't have your FEV enhancements. But if this keeps up for much longer, we might have to risk it anyway. We need to get over the Somerville Bridge before it gets washed away by the rain.
If it's even still there.
That's why I sent Sergeant Blaine ahead. His armor will protect from rads, and he's more mobile in the mud. As soon as he gets back, we'll know for sure.
The others turned back to what they had been doing before, keeping themselves occupied as the rain continued to pour from the dark clouds above. Bitter and Sullivan were reduced to playing cards for scraps of old-world money. They had found stacks of the worthless currency in an old safe inside Riverside Manor, and Frederick had gladly parted with it. Dr. Harefield was sitting with Graham and Samantha, discussing various recipes for grilled rat, while Valeria just looked out the door, her mind now consumed with memories of another rainstorm, years before, and the last time she saw her parents. She nearly jumped when she felt a hand on her shoulder.
Valeria?
Stein, don't. Please. I'm not back to casual touch with you.
Sorry. Force of habit. You look a bit distracted. Something on your mind?
My parents died not far from here. It brings back painful memories.
I understand. I'm sorry.
I guess you do, don't you?
I can't let her pass to find us, Valeria. We all have made mistakes. We regret. What's important is what we do right now.
I had a lot of time to think while MODUS had me locked away. We've been 3 steps behind ever since we left Vault 76, dancing to the tune of others. It's about time to change the beat.
Do we even have a plan?
First, we need to get to Vault Town and regroup. If the PACT doesn't have access to the missile silos yet, they soon will, which means we don't have a lot of time.
I don't think any of us do have a lot of time. But, I mean, in my case, you already know.
Dr. Harefield told me.
It's a small price to pay for finally being free. Guess I can see what that little ticking noise was. That clock that's now been tumbling down. I can feel it. It's a lot more noticeable now. But until it's spent, I'll give everything I can to protect my family. You, Lilith, the others.
And Sophia?
Stein looked back and saw Sophia curled up on the floor under a small blanket, getting some much-needed sleep.
Well, not many people can get a second chance. I love that woman with all my heart. Whatever happens, I plan on cherishing every moment we have together. Val, I don't want to mess this up. And I would like to ask you for something very important.
What would that be?
When we get to Vault Town, when we have a moment to ourselves, I'd like you to marry us.
I'm sorry, you want me to do what?
Look, I know you're confused. It's an old military tradition. Commanding officers have the authority to perform marriages.
I didn't know that. Not really a priority in my training, I guess.
I plan on asking Sophia when we're safe. And yes, look, I understand it's an unusual request, but Valeria, I make it no secret that I see you as a daughter. MODUS didn't make me care about you. MODUS didn't make me want to protect you. I always did. And I can't think of anyone else that I would ask.
Stein, I have no idea if we're even going to live to make it to Vault Town, but if we do...
Valeria was interrupted by the return of Sergeant Blaine. His power armor was covered in mud and had a few new scratches on it as well. He walked over to the front of the house and removed his helmet.
Colonel?
Report, Sergeant.
The bridge is still intact. Water's pretty damn high. And I ran into some mirelurks just on this side of it. But they ain't there anymore.
Any other signs of hostiles?
No, ma'am. But it's muddy as hell and some of the road has been washed out. It ain't gonna be easy to get there. But once we get across, it looks a sight better.
It's something, at least. How's your fusion core holding up?
Still nearly fully charged. Frederick managed to convert a few of them to use ultrasight. He said he almost blew himself up making them. But he wanted us to have them. Damn, I already missed that old guy.
Me too, Sergeant. There'll be time to mourn later. Maybe. Let's see if this rain is going to let up. If not, we'll have to chance it. And Stein?
Yes?
The answer is yes. Of course I will. Now, let's start getting ready to leave.
Yes, ma'am.
Stein saluted and walked back to gently wake Sophia before going on to the others. Valeria felt a twinge of regret when she saw the two embrace, turning her thoughts back to Eugenie. Their brief conversation back at Riverside had only made her miss her more, and knowing that she was still at risk sent a chill up her spine. But Valeria knew that the mission had to come first. If they didn't get to Vault Town, nothing else would matter anyway. However, if she had the chance to have Eugenie in her arms again, she might not ever let her go. Taking one last look out into the rainstorm, Valeria adjusted her eye patch and went back inside. Due to the horrendous conditions, and still readjusting from partially superhuman vision to just a single eye again, Valeria missed the glint of metal in the tree line opposite the house. MODUS's eyebot slowly drifted between the trees, dutifully sending its data back to the bunker.
How very disappointing. Kovac orbital strike capability compromised. Options for dealing with these vermin now limited. Perhaps it is time to evaluate the utility of our partnership. Transmitter activated.
Director, the first vertibird flights have been prepped.
Excellent. And have we identified our initial targets?
Scout teams have marked several large super mutant encampments in the southern portion of the Savage Divide. We believe they may be readying an attack on the settlement known as Foundation.
My, that is interesting. Dr. Blackburn, our subliminal signal was supposed to prevent these types of action without our expressed permission.
It appears that the super mutants are becoming somewhat immune to our influence. This was not unexpected, however, it has occurred sooner than anticipated.
That is unfortunate. That said, do we have any reason to prevent them from attacking Foundation?
We had planned to use our Onai to eradicate the settlement. Another test of their capabilities.
Why not let the attack proceed? These super mutants should be more than capable of overrunning any opposition, and we can convert the survivors afterwards.
It would certainly weed out any of the weaker specimens.
Director.
Yes, what is it?
We are receiving a transmission from the White Spring.
Unexpected? Please open the channel. MODUS, this is a pleasant surprise.
Director Hornwright, we require your assistance.
What kind of assistance, MODUS?
We require elimination of a problem.
A problem, you say? Can you elaborate?
A group of rogue assets has eluded our attempts to terminate their existence.
Interesting. How many of them are there?
We estimate no more than a dozen.
And do you have their location?
We do. Transmitting now.
One moment, MODUS. Let me confer with my colleagues. General McIntosh?
Coming in now. It appears to be surveillance data from an iBot. Location is south of Somerville. That's not far from Terminus C7.
May I make a suggestion, Director?
Of course, Dr. Blackburn.
We are in the process of transporting several batches of Onai to outlying facilities in anticipation of the next stage of Operation Keystone. We could divert at least one of them to the area. It would be an interesting test of their capabilities.
Agreed. Maintaining goodwill with our friend at the White Spring is also of paramount importance, and this appears to be an easy enough task.
Then I will notify Dr. Williams. She will want to observe the results of her enhanced control mechanism firsthand.
I could have a team of Greys standing by as well.
That won't be necessary, General. No need to put vital assets in harm's way. MODUS, we would be happy to deal with these rogue elements for you. Can you continue to provide location data to us?
We will continue to observe and report.
Very good. We look forward to our continued partnership.
We're still receiving the telemetry data. Pretty bad weather up there. Rain squalls and radioactivity.
All the more reason to test our Onai. The harsher the conditions, the better.
I've already notified Dr. Williams. They will arrive at the terminus in less than an hour.
It should prove to be a good bit of sport. Now, we were discussing the deployment of our vertibirds. I'd like to proceed with the next phase as soon as possible.
Yes, Director. Give me a moment to pull up the current schedule.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris.
And I'm not.
We're not doing that routine right now. We're trying to do an advertisement.
Oh, fine. I'm Sir Aloysius Pernicious, the better half of the team at One Wall Comedy.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far. Anyway, come check us out on YouTube. We're your #1 source for independent sketch comedy on the internet.
Yeah, 'cause that's such a big market.
All right, come on. Let's get out of here.
I'm getting paid for this, right?
Don't push your luck.
Mayor Edwards scanned the horizon, looking for signs of the return of the attack force he'd dispatched to take on the local super mutants. Or maybe saying that he dispatched it was being overly generous, as there wasn't much she could have done to prevent Meg and her raiders, along with Maul and his super mutants, from heading out for some payback of their own.
And then they ran headlong into the Brotherhood of Steel.
Edwards had heard of the group from years before, when they found holotapes and notes describing their interactions with the old responders, and then more from the new Enclave after discovering the remains of the Brotherhood in the Cranberry Bog. There had been rumors of the return of the Brotherhood up in the Savage Divide, confirmed when the survivors of Fort Atlas had ended up on Voltown's doorstep. At the time, all Edwards knew was that the fighting arm of the Brotherhood, their power armor knights, had been dispatched to investigate the White Spring, sent on a wild goose chase by the Overseer, who seemed to believe Valeria and her people were somehow responsible for all of the ills that had befallen Appalachia.
Just who in the hell believes these crazy ideas?
Not that Edwards thought the Overseer was genuinely crazy. He'd worked with her for 25 years while they were in Vault 76 together. But the idea that Valeria was some kind of monster was just beyond comprehension. The armored infantry of the Brotherhood had been ambushed by Super Mutants, saved only by the timely arrival of Meg, Maul, and their crews, along with Muller and the Voltown militia. They had sent a runner back, detailing what had happened, and that they would be returning shortly with the survivors.
It'll be an interesting reunion.
Edwards had spent hours talking with Scribe Valdez, Captain Skinner, and Day about what had happened at Fort Atlas, and the incident in the Monongah mine. Just the thought of a previously unknown faction creating all kinds of monsters and tunneling right up from the ground seemed far-fetched, but they had brought along more than enough evidence to prove what they had been talking about. As mayor, Edwards' job had been to protect the citizens of Voltown, but now he found himself facing an even greater challenge: keeping the peace amongst all the competing factions who had taken refuge within the settlement walls, and figure out how to deal with the emerging threat of the PACT. He looked back across the settlement, now the temporary home of the new Responders, Crater Raiders, Brotherhood survivors, friendly Super Mutants, well, mostly friendly, Duchess and her crew from the Wayward, new Enclave operatives and Team Cryptid, not to mention refugees from across the rest of Appalachia.
At least no one's shooting at each other. Yet.
Edwards grabbed his canteen and was taking a drink when he heard a call from one of his guards.
Hey, Mayor! They're back!
Putting down his canteen and picking up his binoculars, Edwards looked to the southeast, before finally setting eyes on the returning column. He was just able to make out Muller's power armor at the front, along with Maul and his Super Mutants, followed by more power armor and raiders bringing up the rear. The mayor climbed down from the barricade and found himself face to face with Scribe Valdez.
Are you sure Knight Shin is with them?
Muller confirmed it. Said he was a right pain in the ass, too.
That sounds like Knight Shin, all right. Does Muller know we're here?
He does. We hadn't gotten the whole story before everyone headed out, so he's just as much in the dark as your Knight Shin is.
I need to speak with Shin, and he is not going to like what I have to say.
You won't be talking to him alone. We're coming with you. None of us would have made it out of Atlas if it hadn't been for you.
Your support is appreciated, but this is a Brotherhood matter.
It's a matter for all Appalachia. Well, you have our backup if you need it. But it's your show, we get that.
Fine. But let me handle this. I will make him understand.
Day and Skinner looked at each other, then back to the scribe. She was certainly more than capable, but they both had also had direct experience with Knight Shin. To call him intense was perhaps an extreme understatement. The scribe fell in behind Edwards as they all walked towards the main gate. When they arrived, Muller was leading everyone back through. Amongst the crowd was Melissa and her baby, now more than a toddler, who waved and smiled as the old sergeant walked over to greet his wife and child. Maul and his Super Mutants came next, laughing and pounding each other on the back. They were having the time of their lives, while Meg pushed her way through and went right up to Edwards.
Damn, it feels great to kick some ass for a change. Say what you want about old David Thorpe, but that man knew his weapons.
Welcome back, Meg. I'd like to introduce you to Scribe Valdez. She's also with the Brotherhood of Steel and arrived from Fort Atlas after you left.
Scribe, huh? No offense, but I hope you're not like those tin-head assheads. We pulled their bacon out of the fire, and it's been nothing but bitching and complaining ever since. I knew we should have left them for the mutants.
Meg, thank you for saving our knights. We owe you a debt.
Well, that's a good start at least. Maybe you ain't so bad, Scribe, but if I have to spend another minute with that Shin asshole, I'm gonna shove that fat man so far up his ass, he'll be shitting mini nukes.
Can't thank you enough, Meg. We have bigger problems to worry about. Have you and your people get cleaned up and grab some chow. I'm calling a meeting of all the faction leaders to update everyone on what we know about what's going on.
If it gives me something else to shoot mini nukes at, I'm all for it.
Meg slapped Edwards on the shoulder and took her crew into Vaulttown. Shaking his head, Edwards never would have thought he'd be working side by side with raiders. But damn if Meg didn't get the job done. Next up was Corporal Jameson, his dog Clyde, followed by the other members of Team Artemis and the rest of the Vaulttown militia. They were immediately mobbed by the crowd, made up of wives, husbands, and children, all thankful for the return of their kin. Behind them were the Brotherhood survivors. Half of them still had their power armor, while the rest had Brotherhood uniforms, sporting a variety of bandages for their wounds. Edwards didn't need to be told which one was Knight Shin. The look on the man's face as he walked up was the only introduction he needed.
You must be Knight Shin. I'm Mayor...
The knight brushed right past Edwards and went directly up to Scribe Valdez.
Just what the hell are you doing here, Scribe? Consorting with these criminals and abominations? And where is the Paladin?
Day and Skinner took a step forward, but Valdez put her arm out, stopping them.
It was all a trap. Fort Atlas was attacked and destroyed. Shin, the Paladin is dead.
What? That's impossible!
It's true. We were attacked from below by some kind of enhanced super mutants. They were nothing like we've ever seen before. We only escaped by the skin of our teeth, mostly because of the scribe here.
Knight Shin looked lost for a moment. His eyes darted from Day to Skinner, before settling back on Scribe Valdez.
Scribe, tell me exactly what happened to the Paladin.
It was Felton Reed. He betrayed us and killed the Paladin.
Well, he may have been working for the PACT.
The PACT? Why are you still listening to these White Spring criminals?
Criminal? I'll show you, criminal, you bastard!
That's enough. They are not responsible for what happened. They put their lives on the line to defend our initiates, while you were out chasing your own tail.
How dare you, Scribe!
Knight Shin, the Overseer has been lying to you. The White Spring didn't do this.
Day, I believe you are the liar. Look around. These people are consorting with the worst scum in the wasteland. Even worse still, they allow abominations in their midst. All of this is in direct conflict with the ideals of the Brotherhood.
I said that was enough, Knight.
Knight Shin's face turned red as he stepped up in front of Scribe Valdez, looming over her.
Obviously, you've forgotten your place, Scribe. With Paladin Romani gone, I'm in command. And I won't stand for this insubordination and consorting with the enemy!
All of the commotion had drawn the attention of the rest of the survivors from Fort Atlas, who had arrayed themselves around the knight and Scribe. Both Skinner and Day considered intervening, as Shin appeared to rev himself up for another tirade, but the Scribe didn't need their help. The next thing Knight Shin knew, he was on the ground, nursing a bloody nose and sore jaw. He was also looking up into the barrel of the Scribe's 10mm pistol.
Knight Shin, Paladin Romani's last words to me, before she died in my arms, was to put me in command of this expedition. Your reckless behavior, leaving Fort Atlas nearly defenseless and walking your own knights into a trap, is frankly more than enough to relieve you of your command entirely and throw you in whatever passes for a brig here.
Shin wiped the blood from his nose as he struggled to form a proper response. Shin's knights appeared ready to step in, even as the initiate stood behind the Scribe. Instead of waiting for a reply, Scribe Valdez instead addressed the collected survivors of the Brotherhood Expeditionary Force.
Brothers and sisters, the Elders have sent us here to Appalachia to discover what happened to our lost chapter, and to ensure that the Scorched were no longer a threat. We have stumbled on something far, far worse, and it has cost us dearly. Paladin Romani has ordered me to save our people, but we cannot save ourselves if we don't work with the people of Appalachia against a common enemy.
Valdez paused and looked down at Knight Shin.
Daniel, the Brotherhood is supposed to fight to protect the future. If we don't stand together now, then everything we stand for, everything the Paladin stood for, would be for nothing. Please, I would rather you be by my side than sitting in a cell.
Valdez lowered her pistol and instead held out her hand. Shin looked up at her, then to his men, and to the crowd. He saw something in their eyes that he recognized, the same look he had when he had met Elder Maxon for the first time. Ever since Knight Connor sacrificed himself to save Shin during their trip across America, the knight had promised himself not to let emotions rule his judgment, and now, finally, Shin realized he had been blinded by his own ego, and perhaps he had only seen what he wanted to. Paladin Romani was dead, and while they had not always seen eye to eye, Shin respected her as his commanding officer and dedicated member of the Brotherhood of Steel. He'd also underestimated the scribe. No one had knocked him on his ass since Brotherhood basic training, and maybe he needed that to see things differently. Reaching up, he took the scribe's hand and rose to his feet. It was as if the crowd was holding its breath. Shin took a step back and held up his hand.
It appears that I made a mistake. The last thing we need right now is a divided Brotherhood, especially given the current situation.
I agree, Knight. All I ask is that you review the evidence we've collected and listen to these people. We all want the same thing.
Perhaps I was too hasty in forming my opinions. I have some information to share as well. Orders directly from Elder Maxon that may be related to the current situation.
Oh? Then let's get started. Our people are tired and the wounded should be looked after. If you'd join me in the town hall, we can show you all of the evidence we've collected.
With that, Valdez saluted.
Ad Victoriam, Knight Shin.
Knight Shin stood at attention and looked Valdez straight in the eyes, then gave her a grimly satisfied smile.
Ad Victoriam, Paladin Valdez.
On behalf of the Fallout feed,
Dames Who Game,
a Skyrim Addict podcast,
and all of us from ASA Podcasting,
we'd like to congratulate the MODUS files on 250,000 downloads as of June 24. Well done, guys. Greets, everybody. I'm Jessica Starr, and if you're looking for some podcasts to satisfy an appetite as strong as Lilith's, why not check out ASA Podcasting? We're a group of mature gamers talking about our fave games, with shows like The Fallout Feed, a community-focused Fallout podcast, A Skyrim Addict, where we talk about Skyrim since 2013, Dames Who Game, where me and a few of my fave gals discuss life, games, and nerd culture, and introducing our newest show, Vault Talk, a Fallout TV show discussion. You can find all these and more on any podcast app, asapodcasting.com, and all over the web. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the wasteland.
Dr. Williams.
Yes. What is it?
The last group has been activated.
Good. Do we have a confirmed location of the targets?
The data is being downloaded now. They're still heading north, approximately 2 kilometers from our location.
Well within range. Ensure we record everything. We need this information for future enhancements.
Of course, Doctor.
Evacuate the platform. I am sending the first set of instructions now.
Outside the motherlode transport, a half-dozen technicians scurried off the concrete platform as the Onai began to stir. 48 of the creatures had been delivered, standing in rows of 6. The 10-foot-tall scorched super mutants glowed a pale purple in the dim light of the access tunnel. When their eyes opened, the reddish glow filled the cavern, and the group moved as one, following their instructions, one large foot in front of the other as they filed towards the concealed exit.
I'm never getting the mud out of these boots.
Could be worse.
How? How could it possibly be worse, Sullivan?
Honestly, not sure. That's just what everyone says.
Would you shut your hole, Sullivan, and let me be miserable in peace?
The small group of new Enclave survivors trudged along what had once been the old state road, but was now a mix of broken concrete and mud nearly knee-deep. At least the rain had stopped, the storm clouds pushing to the east, setting their sights on the mountains of the Savage Divide. Valeria had cast her gaze up to those peaks and could have sworn she saw something silhouetted against the mountains. It appeared to be a vertibird, but she couldn't quite make it out before whatever it had been disappeared into the darkening clouds. Lilith was walking alongside Graham, pestering him with questions about where he came from, or what he remembered about the time before he became a super mutant. Her 2 hounds ran circles around them, playing together in the mud, while Corporal Samantha rode on Graham's shoulders, keeping watch as they walked along. Looking up ahead, Valeria could see Sergeant Blaine waiting for them.
Sergeant?
Colonel, we're moving too slow. I don't like it.
Can't be helped. Not all of us have power armor, Sergeant.
Sorry, ma'am. Force of habit. Until we get further north, we're exposed out here.
Val! Val!
What is it, Lilith?
I think I know where my father's lab is.
Is this really the time?
But it's important. Who knows what yummy research he has there? And maybe there is something he was working on that could help.
Fine. So, where is it?
Well, I don't know exactly where.
Lilith!
I mean, I have a good idea, is all. Graham said he remembered cages. Lots of cages.
That doesn't exactly narrow it down, Lilith.
My father would have needed a place with access to a lot of test subjects, and also a place where people wouldn't ask a lot of questions.
Sure, that tracks.
And cages. I'm thinking he meant cells. Jail cells.
Prisoners. Of course they'd be experimenting on prisoners.
Knowing dear old Dad, that's exactly where he'd put Site C. Now, we just have to find a big jail and dig.
Lilith.
The echo of a gunshot, followed by a small explosion of circuitry, caught everyone off guard. Immediately, guns were raised in every direction, as the survivors scanned the road and trees for any sign of movement. All eyes turned to the half-exploded remains of an eyebot, as it rolled down a small embankment out of the tree line before coming to stop on a piece of concrete debris.
MODUS.
Damn. He found us.
But who fired that shot? And if he found us, why aren't we already dead?
I think we can mark Frederick's successful sabotage of the Kovac as QED at this point. As for the first question, the answer is right over there.
Valeria pointed to the far tree line. A tall figure emerged, carrying an enormous rifle in one hand and a knapsack in the other.
Shadow.
I knew my charming personality would bring him back.
Would you please shut up, Sullivan?
He doesn't look happy.
Since when has Shadow ever looked happy, Major?
Pipe down, everyone. Shadow. Didn't expect to see you again.
Same here. But then I saw this little guy buzzing around and got curious. And it led me right back to you.
Aww, admit it, Shadow. You missed us.
Don't even start, Lilith.
Well, whatever the reason, I'm glad to see you again.
If you're expecting me to go on any other suicide missions...
Guys, sorry to break up this little reunion, but we got company.
They look like brothers, but they're not brothers.
Valeria spun around and grabbed a pair of binoculars, looking back down the road where Samantha was pointing. It took her a moment to adjust the focus. Then the color drained from her face.
Oh, no.
In the distance, she could just make out the creatures advancing towards them. They moved with an unnatural precision, unerringly focused on their target. Marching rank by rank, the Onai carried various melee implements, including super sledges and spiked boards.
We have to move, now.
Bloody hell, why did I come back?
The mud doesn't seem to be slowing them down much.
That's a lot of them. Like, a lot. Just like the Juggernaut Horde and the Unstoppables.
Stow it, Lawson. Everyone head north. Get to the bridge.
Oh, I want to play with them.
Valeria turned and gave Lilith a look which conveyed everything she wanted to say, and with a sheepish shrug, Lilith called for her hounds and joined the others as they started running again.
Charlie! No time for grief! Only time for running!
The Brahmin seemed to acknowledge the command and picked up speed, its cargo swaying back and forth as the beast galloped through the mud and muck. Between Shadow continuing to curse under his breath, Bitter and Sullivan betting on which one of them was going to be eaten first, and Dr. Harefield almost tripping and falling every 10 feet or so, with Lawson doing his best to pick her up and carry on, the group wasn't moving nearly fast enough to escape the nearly silent horde marching behind them.
Sergeant, cover the rear.
Yes, ma'am.
Bitter, Sullivan, do you have any mines?
A few.
Yeah, I got some too.
Lay them, quickly. We need to slow them down.
Oh, I can help too. Big booms are my specialty.
Even as the Onai marched relentlessly towards them, closing the distance, Bitter, Sullivan, and Lilith quickly laid a series of mines along the path of retreat. It was a mixture of fragmentation and plasma devices, all that they were carrying with them. Sergeant Blaine checked his minigun, eager to fire, but the creatures were still too far away, and he couldn't afford to waste the ammo.
Well, that's the last of them. Let's get the hell out of here.
Careful to avoid the now live explosives, the trio turned and ran to catch up with the others. Blaine threaded his way through the minefield, but kept one eye behind to gauge the distance of their pursuers. The creatures kept up their steady gait, neither pausing nor speeding up, merely advancing as a single wave towards them. As the group struggled through the mud alongside the banks of New Gad Lake, Samantha finally spotted the town of Somerville ahead, and the bridge they would need to cross.
There it is. We're close.
About time. I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Come on, Doctor. I'll get you across.
But what about those things?
Hopefully the mines will stop them. Or at least slow them down.
Valeria stopped and turned around, raising the binoculars once again. The creatures were continuing as before, almost unimpeded by the rough terrain and mud. It scared her. Not that there was any point in admitting it out loud, but imagining not dozens or hundreds, but thousands of these monsters unleashed on an unsuspecting wasteland. Nothing would have been able to stand against them. Paying no mind to any distractions, focused only on the whispered instructions of the hive mind control, the Onai marched on. The first rank reached the mines, and explosions rocked the area. Multiple creatures stepped on mines and were caught in the explosions of others. Arms and legs were torn off and thrown into the air, and a dirty cloud of debris shrouded the area, as even more mines exploded in sequence.
I'm not counting on that stopping them. Everyone, get across the bridge, now!
Valeria scanned the cloud of debris, then cursed under her breath.
Damn.
While several of the Onai had been killed, with more injured, even those with grievous wounds continued to march forward. Their ranks were no longer perfectly aligned, but they still came, closing the distance to the bridge.
Come on, Valeria!
Valeria turned to Stein, then to the others as they crossed, then back to the advancing horde. They had mere minutes before they were set upon, and there was no way for them to escape. Not unless it was something else to slow them down.
Sergeant Blaine.
Yes, ma'am?
Out of the armor.
Ma'am?
That's an order, soldier.
Confused, Sergeant Blaine popped the release on his armor and hopped onto the ground in front of the Colonel.
Colonel?
I'm taking your armor, Sergeant. I'll hold the bridge until you can get away. I should be able to slow them down. I need you to get everyone across and keep moving. Don't stop for anything.
Blaine looked at the Colonel and realized what she was saying. It only took him a moment to make his decision. Valeria, literally blindsided, never saw it coming. The punch to the face knocked her out cold and she fell to the ground. Stein rushed to her and looked up at the sergeant.
Why the hell did you do that?
You need her. She's the only one that can keep all this together. Stop what's coming. Major, please. Get her the hell over that bridge and get as far from here as you can. And tell the Colonel I'm sorry.
Blaine reached into his pack and pulled out his signature folded brim cowboy hat, a gift from his long-dead parents. He'd had it for as long as he could remember.
Give her this. Tell her to remember me. Or if she wants, she can court-martial the hat.
But...
Oh, I was born for this. God bless the Enclave, Major.
Stein was about to say something else, but then he saw the oncoming Onai. They moved with a silent menace, radiating pure evil as their red eyes stared straight ahead, making no sound other than the thump of their feet on the ground.
God damn it, Sergeant. Jesse. Good luck.
Stein took the hat and picked up Valeria, throwing her over his shoulder before saluting and jogging across the bridge to where the others were waiting. Blaine couldn't hear what was said, but he could imagine. Instead, he grabbed his pack from the rear of the armor and put it on the ground, leaving it open before climbing back into his suit. Wrapped in the armor once again, he reached up and took off his helmet.
Can't do this without a cigar.
Blaine dropped the helmet to the ground and reached into his pack, carefully taking out his last cigar and gripping it between his teeth. The sergeant grabbed his minigun and walked to the middle of the bridge before turning around and facing the onrushing Onai.
What I wouldn't give for a light.
Blaine raised the minigun. The Onai were nearly in range, and it was the first time he could get a good look at them. He'd seen the Super Mutants at Emmett Mountain, but these were even more terrifying. Taller and broader, the Onai appeared to glow as the crystals grew out of their blackened skin, crisscrossed with purple veins, and their red eyes now locked on the lone suit of power armor.
Time to do what I do best.
Blaine depressed the trigger, and his minigun hummed as it spun up. The Onai were only a few feet from the bridge, raising their weapons to charge when the minigun erupted, sending hundreds of rounds downrange, tearing through their ranks. Arms and legs were blown from bodies, but the Onai charged forward without fear or reason. Using his weapon like a scalpel, Blaine sliced legs in half, blew off heads, holding back the onrushing creatures even as they stepped over and past their own dead. From the hillside above the bridge, the other survivors could only cast occasional helpless looks behind as Blaine stood alone, the Onai encroaching ever closer, spraying glowing blood across the pavement and into the torrential flood below.
Got a clear path to reload!
Watching the ammunition counter drop towards zero, Blaine aimed to clear at least a small gap, but one of the creatures charged, bringing its super sledge down in a killing blow. Blaine sidestepped, allowing the rocket-propelled sledgehammer to glance off the side of his armor, leaving a large gash in the metal. He fired his minigun into the creature's chest, leaving a path clean through its body, leaving the remains smoking at his feet. With a grim chuckle, Blaine used the red-hot barrels of his minigun to light the cigar, and quickly slapped the last drum of ammunition into place, bashing another creature which got too close, knocking it over the side and into the water below. Blaine fired again, blasting a path, and even took a few steps forward, taking the fight to the Onai, drenching himself in their blood and gore, but the wave of creatures just didn't stop. For everyone he killed, two more seemed to take their place.
There's just too many of them. But they've never met me.
Reaching the top of the hill, Stein pushed the others to keep going. They were not far from Fort McClintock, where they could find shelter and regroup, but only if the sergeant could stop their pursuers.
What the hell am I going to tell Valeria?
For the sergeant, there were no more thoughts of cigars and whiskey, nor being a hero or playing soldier. There was only the fight, and the single thought that not one creature could set foot on the other side of the bridge. The minigun continued to do its work, until the ammo counter finally reached zero. Without hesitation, Blaine wielded it like a club, bashing the creatures with it until it was nothing more than a pile of scrap in his hands. And Onai reached out, grabbing the suit, trying to pull him aside, but Blaine brought up his fists and shoved the lit cigar into one of its eyes, eliciting the only scream he had heard from any of the mutants, then clamped it back between his teeth before throwing armor-fisted punches, crushing skulls, breaking ribs, and even ripping off arms as he fought like a demon.
Wish the Colonel could see this. Hope she's not too sore.
Smiling, even as he was being overwhelmed, Onai bodies stacked high on the bridge with more attacking him. Blaine kept fighting. A blow from a sledgehammer twisted his left arm in the wrong direction, shattering the armor and the bones in his arm at the same time. Blaine didn't scream. He just gripped the cigar harder between his teeth, reaching up and grabbing the creature's head with his right hand and crushing it between his fingers. The Onai never said a word, never growled or shouted. Their silent movements were hellish, but through it all, Blaine never wavered, never took even a single step back. For what seemed like hours, but merely seconds, the sergeant stood his ground, and then the final wave hit the bridge. The last dozen creatures charged forward in a single mass, intending to trample the sergeant and continue towards the others, and Blaine knew that this was the end. But he'd done enough to make his last act count. His left arm hanging limply at his side, he triggered the final override in his power armor, setting the fusion core to overload. With a final shout, Blaine ran forward, even as the alarms in his power armor screamed. The ultrasight fusion core reached critical mass just as the sergeant took the largest of the creatures in a bear hug, swearing until his last breath. Later, when the colonel was asked about what happened that day by those who hadn't been there, she merely looked down at the cowboy hat in her hand and then stared off into the distance.
He stood alone at Summersville.
And that's all she would say. And it was enough.
Some storm. Figures our first flight out would be like this.
Not like the simulators, is it?
Hell, I'm just glad to be airborne. Didn't think we'd ever see topside again.
You and me both. The director really put a fire into the council's ass for sure.
About damn time. Felt like I was gonna go all Delta-like, being stuck underground for so long. At least the Greys got to go outside every once in a while.
No complaints now, right? So where's our next target?
Place called Horizon's Nest. Old airliner crash site out of Helvetia. Supposed to be full of super mutants.
Great. We head north, then cut low out of the west. Shouldn't take more than one pass to spread the virus.
Turn in now. ETA, about 10 minutes. So, when this is all over, what do you plan to do?
Get married, have a few kids. Heard they're gonna move us all to Watoga once it's been cleared.
Watoga? City of the future and all that?
That's what Akumi down in hydroponics said. The council wants to make it the new capital, at least until they clear out more of the country.
That I have to see.
What about you? Heard you were seeing someone.
Still playing the field. Anyway, I figure I'm a lifer anyway. Someone's gotta ferry around the bigwigs once we take care of the filth.
Should have figured. Can't say it's not tempting.
Hey, we're getting close. Activate the dispersal system.
1 second. Valves check. Nozzle control check. The board is green. Ready to go.
Alright. Target in sight.
I don't like the look of those clouds. Getting a bit of a rad spike.
We'll go in low and get out fast. Set to wide dispersal. I don't want to have to make a second pass.
Wide dispersal, check.
Get ready. Making the turn now. Engines to full power.
Engines full.
Here we go. Steady on the drop. Shit! Where's that fire coming from?
Tower, left side. Damn it!
I'm losing power in number 2. Oil pressure is failing. I got red all across the damn board.
Dispersal system offline. We took some hits. Shit! Fire in number 2. We gotta shut her down.
Going to auto-rotate on number 2. Damn it! Where the hell did they come from?
I don't know. Crap! Getting overheating in engine 1 now. We need to set her down so we can take a look.
Down here? Are you fucking crazy? We need to get back.
Not on one engine, we don't... Hold on. I think... Yeah, maybe.
Maybe what?
I think I can get her back online, but I can't do it in the air.
You remember our orders, right? No landings?
We ain't making it back to the 63, not like this. I won't tell if you don't.
Okay, genius. Where the hell do you think we can land around here?
Hold on.
I'll hold on, but will the bird?
Yeah, that's perfect. Turn west, heading 250.
Care to tell me where we're going?
Camp McClintock. Old military base. Abandoned the last time we checked. Nothing but bots left. They even have a landing pad.
Shit. This is a bad idea.
You got a better one? The other engine ain't looking so good.
Feathering number 1. Go 1/4 power. If we land too hard, that ultrasight battery could blow.
1/4 power. Battery's fine. Don't worry about it. If it blows, we ain't gonna feel anything anyway.
You better be right about this.
First in my class in engineering. Give me the right tools and I can fix anything.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
You want to bet on it? Hold on. There it is.
Got it, yeah. Landing pad is there. Coming in for landing. Damn. Go to half power on number 1. This is gonna be a little rough. Hold on. Power off. Oh, shit. They didn't teach us this in the simulators.
Hey, we ain't dead and the bird's down. Now I promise I will make this quick. Let me grab the tools and we'll be out of here before you know it.
Whew. Gonna do a full system check. Check the rest of the exterior. See if we caught any other flack.
Will do. Doesn't look too bad. Well, mostly not too bad. Looks like we caught a piece of rocket, though. Let me go over and check that engine. Small arms hits, a little patchwork, and that'll be fine. Tough old bird, though. Wait, is that a femur? They threw a femur at us? Crazy!
The co-pilot was surprised to find the damage wasn't nearly as bad as he first suspected. Sure, the engine had caught a few stray rounds, which shorted out the control systems, but it wasn't anything he couldn't fix. He also figured the other engine was probably the same. It was time to get to work. He didn't want to be on the ground any longer than necessary.
Grab my tools, would you? And the spanner. The big one. Hello? Anyone home? Can't do shit without my tools. Come on. You lose your hearing all of a sudden?
The co-pilot walked to the front of the vertibird, ready to give the pilot a piece of his mind for screwing around. Coming around the side, he stopped dead in his tracks.
Oh, I can hear you just fine.
What the hell?
The woman was scary enough, dressed in a long coat with blood-red face paint, with 2 mutant hounds sitting beside her. And then there was the super mutant standing behind her, another woman on his shoulders, a rifle on her hip. He instinctively reached for his pistol.
That's a really bad idea.
The co-pilot turned around to find a man and a woman, both pointing their weapons at him. On the other side, 3 more men and a woman emerged from a nearby sandbag bunker, holding the pilot, bound and gagged between them.
Okay, I see, I'm putting my hands up.
Colonel, we have them both.
Colonel?
Another woman emerged from the sandbag bunker, this one sporting an eye patch and a very bruised face. She was wearing a uniform that looked vaguely familiar to him. Something from an old comic book, maybe? She walked right up to the co-pilot and smiled, which sent a chill down his spine.
About time we caught a break. This will do nicely. It sounds like you can repair whatever damage you might have sustained. Get to work.
Like hell I will.
Valeria just smiled, then pulled out her pistol and pressed it against the co-pilot's forehead.
I wasn't asking.
You're not gonna shoot me.
I've lost people I cared about today. Believe me that I will not shed a single tear over you. We don't need you. You'll just make it faster. So you have one chance, and one chance only. Maybe you get to live, maybe you just get something as clean as a bullet. I'll let calmer heads make that call when we get where we're going. But if you don't get this bird airworthy, or if you try anything funny, I am going to personally feed you to the mutant hounds. One piece at a time.
Valeria's gaze never wavered, and the co-pilot looked over her shoulder to see the mutant hounds both drooling, while the woman standing between them was licking her lips as well.
All right. Just don't kill me. I'm just doing my job.
Then do it. Sophia, you know your way around one of these things. Why don't you assist?
Of course, Colonel. Happy to help.
Good. Everyone else, let's make sure we don't have any other uninvited guests.
Valeria holstered her pistol while Stein walked over with Sophia and grabbed the co-pilot by the arm, dragging him back towards the smoking engine. As the others went to secure Camp McClintock, sidestepping the Mr. Gutsy drill sergeants who still prowled the grounds looking for new recruits, Valeria walked over to the side of the Vertibird, soon joined by Lilith.
Spraying equipment.
Is this their virus?
It must be.
I'm going to get a sample. Who knows what I might find?
Just be careful. You might be immune, but who knows what it might do to the rest of us.
I'm always careful, Val.
While Lilith started dismantling the equipment, Valeria walked back over to where the pilot was still bound on the ground. She grabbed her by the arm and started dragging her over to the sandbag bunker they had used to store their supplies. Tossing the pilot into the corner, Valeria leaned down and grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at both her and the combat knife she drew with her other hand.
Now, you and I are going to have a little chat. First, you're going to tell me exactly where this vertibird came from.
Where the fuck are they? Hey, Bob! Anything?
Nah, boss. Nothing.
God damn it! As soon as you spot something, you let me know. Got it?
Sure thing, boss.
For the first time in a very long time, Vinny Costas was nervous. If you asked him, he'd deny it, but the sweat stains on his usually impeccably clean shirt were clear indication that not everything was right in Vinny's world.
Cyrus? You better be dead, because otherwise, I'm gonna kill you.
All of Vinny's carefully laid plans were starting to come undone. Cyrus and his gang should have been back with the cryptid antlers and red days before, and worse, all of the scouts he sent to try to find them had gone missing as well. And now his business partner, patron, or whatever the hell you'd call them, was coming to collect the specimens he'd promised.
Just what the hell am I gonna tell them?
Having no idea, Vinny could only keep his eyes on the hills, hoping that Cyrus would finally appear and deliver what he promised. Then there was the problem with Joanna.
Tough old broad. Wish he'd see reason and just sign the damn contract. It'd be a real shame if I had to dump her out there for the Super Mutants.
For old time's sake, he just didn't want to kill her, and what passed in his mind for honor, he was still willing to pay her, in gold, for the caravan, but he was quickly running out of time, and so was she. Appalachia was rapidly becoming hazardous, both to Vinny's health and the business. The last caravan carrying refugees had left that morning, and so far, not a single other person had managed to make it to Big Bend. No one except for the mercs and raiders who answered Vinny's call.
And they cost an arm and a fucking leg!
Calling in whatever favors he had left, Vinny was able to recruit former members of the Blood Eagles, along with some Hellcat mercenaries who happened to be passing through on their way down from the pit. Now both ends of Big Bend Tunnel looked more like an armed camp than a trading post.
Suits me just fine. Once things blow over, we'll find greener pastures anyway. What the fuck is that?
Vinny had to grab the handrail on the barricade as the ground trembled beneath him. The Brahmin got spooked and started running circles around their pens. Then the ground appeared to open up beside the old railroad tracks, revealing the teeth of a large drill. It continued to rise from the ground until the whole machine was exposed, standing more than 20 feet into the air. Both Vinny and the various guards, raiders and mercs stood in awe as the massive drill came to a stop. At first, weapons were raised, but Vinny held up his hand and shouted,
It's fine! They're friends! I hope...
Warning lights started flashing, followed by the hiss of a large hatch opening in the side. Out of the darkness, a half-dozen soldiers jumped down to the ground, spreading out and securing a perimeter around the drill. Each of them was wearing charcoal gray armor and masks, while carrying assault rifles. As Vinny watched, 2 more soldiers emerged, standing in the doorway. They both looked around, and then looked at Vinny. One turned around and motioned with his hand. Then the other man emerged. It was the same man who had hired Vinny to find antlers. This time he was wearing a white lab coat and black vest. Vinny guessed it was some kind of body armor, and he didn't look happy. One of the soldiers jumped down, then helped the man down to the ground, followed by the second soldier.
Shit. Guess I should say hello.
Vinny straightened his tie and then walked down the stairs.
Boss, what's going on?
None of your fucking business, Bob. These are friends of mine, and we're gonna make them feel welcome, okay?
Whatever you say, boss.
Vinny went over to where the ring of soldiers were standing. They paid him little mind, instead keeping watch on the guards, mercs, and raiders who had gathered to watch the display. The other 2 soldiers walked up, with Vinny's client.
You boys certainly know how to make an entrance.
Time is of the essence, Mr. Costas. We are here to secure the specimens.
Well, see... that's gonna be a problem.
A problem? You are being well compensated to deal with problems.
I only meant... they aren't here.
How disappointing.
They'll be here. Any time now. I spoke to them myself. Got them both. That antlers kill you wanted, plus the other one.
Ah, yes, the other hybrid. You say her name was Red?
Sure was. No idea what the hell happened to her. But she's got horns and everything.
Intriguing. However, none of this matters until I have them in my possession.
Well, like I said, any time now. I mean, I can call you back as soon as I get here.
We're not leaving.
And who the hell are you?
Gray 6. We're under orders to secure this location until Dr. Cardoza gets what he came for.
That wasn't part of any deal I made. This here is my operation.
The deal has changed, Mr. Costas. We no longer have the luxury of time. I suggest that you acclimate yourself to this new reality, because it's imperative that I return with those specimens.
The deal is the deal, you fucking piece of...
I would recommend that you listen to Dr. Cardoza, Mr. Costas. For the moment, you still have value to our organization. It would be a real shame should that change.
You must understand, Mr. Costas. I do not have a choice, and neither do you. Please, don't make this harder than it needs to be. We will await the arrival of your hunters. I do not need to tell you what will happen if they don't.
All right. I see your point. Why don't you all make yourselves at home?
Don't mind if we do. Gray 12.
Sir?
We'll be staying a while. Secure a place for the team and our equipment.
Yes, sir.
Vinny watched as the soldiers marched into the compound. Gray 6 looked at him for a moment, and Vinny could almost feel the smirk behind his mask before he went to join the rest. Then he felt a hand on his shoulder.
Now, Mr. Costas, let's retire to your office. I'd like you to tell me everything that has happened since our last communication.
As Vinny led the doctor back into the compound, Cardoza was beginning to formulate a plan of his own. If Vinny couldn't provide the hybrids he required, perhaps he could create the next best thing.
You sure that thing isn't gonna eat me, Red?
Shiny? He's fine, darling. Don't you worry none.
The last time something big and nasty was this close to me, ripped my face off.
Always wondered what was under that mask of yours.
I swear, Red, if he eats me, I'm coming back to haunt you.
Darling, I got enough ghosts bothering me. I sure as hell don't want no more. Come on. I need to see what's going on.
Red and Ares had left the cultist camp to scout the western end of the Big Bend Tunnel. They were getting close and wanted to get a look at what they were dealing with. When Red had gone to pick up Shiny, she found the Deathclaw exactly where she had left it, although it must have gotten hungry, because it had been gnawing on a super mutant femur bone. After giving Shiny a pat on the head, he'd followed her to the cultist camp. Although it was well hidden in a small grotto, she had smelled the incense from a mile away. What Red hadn't expected was the welcome she received. Reverend Paul had pulled her into a bear hug, and almost gotten himself chopped into shreds by Shiny, until Red managed to calm the Deathclaw down. Ares nearly had a heart attack, but managed to keep it together. Perhaps it was the booze aplenty the cultists had passed around as each of them went to pay their respects to Red of the Touched and her blessed Deathclaw. It had been one hell of a party, but at the end of it, Reverend Paul had gone to Red and told her,
"The Holy Mothman has put us in your service. Your enemies are now ours, and we shall smite them in your name."
Red had tipped her horns and thanked the Reverend before settling down to sleep, once again nestled against Shiny, letting the Deathclaw's steady heartbeat lull her to sleep. That morning, after another round with the cultists, Red had grabbed Ares, and the three of them had headed off to the south, and now here they were, just below the ridge looking down at the Big Bend compound. They both pulled out their binoculars and scanned the area.
Holy shit. What the hell is that?
I don't rightly know.
It looks like a drill? A fucking big drill.
Ain't never seen anything like that before. Hey, wait a second. I recognize those guys.
Which ones?
The ones in the funky gray get-ups. One of those fuckers shot me.
Never seen armor like that before. There's Vinny. Don't know who the other one is. The guy in white.
Can't be good. That's for damn sure.
Damn. Check out that compound. Raiders. Those look like mercs. That's a lot of damn firepower. Plus those gray-wearing assholes.
Vinny is down there. That's all I care about.
We need to find Joanna. Figure Vinny ain't killed her yet. Plus, I gotta get my friends out of there, too.
Dang it. Ain't gonna be easy. We got both ends of the tunnel to worry about, don't we?
You know, those fucking Blood Eagles managed to find ways into the tunnel before those stuffed shirts smoked them out. Maybe the Reverend and his friends can do a little poking around for us.
I like the way you think, darling.
Also, I got another idea. A way for us to get close to Vinny. Real close.
Ares and Red continued to survey the compound, counting guns and sketching out the barricades and terrain. Every time Red spied one of the soldiers in gray armor, she felt her blood start to boil. In the end, she smiled. It wasn't every day she might just get the chance to kill two birds with one stone. Literally. When they were done, the two crawled back out of sight before starting their trip back to the camp. Red put her hand under Shiny's chin and gave the creature a scratch.
Stay hungry, Shiny, 'cause it's just about time to settle things. Vinny's gonna wish he'd never set eyes on old Red.
Thank you again, members, for joining us here on the MODUS Files. If you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe, and better yet, please leave a review to help others find our little enclave. You can also follow us on our various social media accounts, including Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, at MODUS Files or at MODUS Files Podcast, for more information about our story and characters, Fallout 76 content, and random musings on the Enclave. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support our work and receive special benefits, like early access to episodes, original scripts, and special events with our cast. A link to our Patreon can be found at modusfiles.com. I'd also like to thank our cast: Pandora Beatrix as Colonel Valeria Faustina, Lucy Middleton as Major Lilith Alistair, Chrissy Williams as Trader Red, Cryptos, aka Shannon Rivers, and Dr. Williams. XO1 King is Major Andrew Stein, Chris Smith from One Wall Comedy as Sergeant Blaine, Knight Shin, Graham, Ares, Vinny Costas, Reverend Paul, and the Super Mutants. Jessica Starr as Sophia Daguerre in PACT Operations, Ryan Negrin as Day, Firewriter as Eugenie, Patrick Conway as Frederick Rivers and the Vertibird co-pilot, Aaron McNamara as Dr. Naomi Harefield, Josh Smith as Grey 9 and Captain Skidder, Don McCormick as Raider Boss Meg, Christy Harrison as Director Evelyn Hornwright, Phobos as Dr. Cardoza, DJ Reed as Grey 6, Eric Gold as Grey Commander, Vitriol Plays as Paladin Odessa Valdez, Ray Whitty as the Vertibird pilot, Rob Cunningham as Private Lawson, Dr. Mark Horsworth as Bitter, Ward, and Dr. Blackbird, Daniel Hawthorne as Lieutenant Shadow, Tim Young as Sullivan, Casual in a Corset as Private Samantha, Aaron Atherton as Foundation Guard No. 1, Chris Basso as the PACT Technician, Jeff Lincoln as Grey 12, Ricky Torres as Bob, and Brad Williams as Mayor Edwards and the voice of MODUS. As our third season continues, we want to thank the incredible cast, crew, and community that we have the honor to interact with every day. Without your support, none of this would be possible. And a special shout out to our newest Patreon member, Samuel Miller, and thank you to the rest of our Patreon who help support our efforts directly and are an important part of our Discord. Stay tuned for our next episode, Conclusions and Consequences. Lastly, thank you to all of our subscribers and supporters. God bless the Enclave and God bless America.
Members, we look forward to your next visit to our little enclave.